democracy does matter because, you know, when it comes to like candidates, we touched on that briefly. You know, a lot of people out there, the public, wonder how on earth you get some of these MPs, some of the Conservative MPs who aren't Conservative and don't believe what we believe in. And you have a government that, at the moment, we'll come back to this, who is not reflecting the membership views in any way. To me, it's a bit like a mini EU. That it is sort of, you know, it's sort of acting like the EU. It doesn't care about the membership. It will mouth, you know, talk of democracy, but it doesn't actually count. Anyway, the CCD, last year at the party conference, we had a lot of interest. And in fact, we had Conservative Central Office trying to bump speakers off our platform, putting pressure on them, and we were watched, and there was a sort of, you know, there was a lot of sort of fallout from it. But a lot of the members of the Conservative Party conference came up and said, "Thank you for what you're doing, I fully support it." We had about 100 of them that came to our meeting. But the 10 points that we outlined, if I may briefly just go through, this is what CCD stands for, the Campaign for Conservative Democracy. And the first one is the key one, it's about stronger associations and only voluntary federations. You know, we believe in constituency associations. I've been involved in these all the way through. I'm horrified how they've been hollowed out. And, you know, a lot of associations, John points out, hardly exist. And you can take the view, which is what Central Office take, is that, oh, therefore you have to change the system and replace it. Or you can take our view. Let's recruit more people, let's make it worthwhile getting involved again and start rebuilding the associations. And I don't think there's a problem with the structure, it's the fact we're not appealing to people, we're not bringing them in. And they must be, associations must be at the heart of this. You devote, all of you I know involved, you know, New Forest are represented, South Bucks, and, you know, you devote huge time and resources to the party, and without your work we'll be lost. And what has happened, I can have to say as a candidate, what happens is when you really need people to help you in an election, you turn around and there's no one there. You know, because they've been hollowed out. There's hardly anyone around who are activists. And most associations are just down to their councillors. You know, that's the hard core. And like the East of England regional conference we had recently with Brandon Lewis. We've got Brandon Lewis and James Cleverly, are both East of England MPs actually, but you know, everyone in the audience were councillors effectively, you know, this is the whole of the East of England, and that's all the people that are turning out as activists were councillors. And that doesn't go as far as it should. I never liked the idea of federations or super associations, we're going to call them. I think Fellman's plans were pretty dishonest and would have destroyed the party. We have in Norwich, I'm a member of Norwich, and we do have a federation between North and South. The South is Clyde Lewis, is Labour, you know. And you can understand the thinking, but you know, it's very important to keep these associations. If you're going to win back that seat, you've got to rebuild the association on the ground, you know. So that's, you know, that I think is the core number one point. The second one is about elected party leader. You've touched on this, John, that you know, there is an interesting point. Had Theresa May had to go through a selection, would she have got as far as she did? You know, I mean, Boris, of course, pulled out. Andrea Leadsom pulled out. But it is a way of testing candidates and really finding out what they stand for. And I think all of us believe in democracy. This is part of democracy. And we've got to restore and revamp that elected party leader, the way we do it. And I'm quite right to say that, you know, we've got to do it properly the next time, if there is one, and there could well be one. Actually, we're up here. I think we're not far off 48 names. The third point is elected party chairman. I think it's a very important point that we go on about, and Central Office are most resistant to in many ways. I think the key thing about it, and again it goes back to my earlier EU point, I've seen this in action, because obviously commissioners who run things aren't elected, and they can pontificate about the world without being elected. They're not responsible to anyone. In fact, the Immigration Commissioner was boasting, well, I don't have to stand, you know, in elections, so I can tell you how many immigrants you must take. And this, of course, goes down like lead balloon, and why Hungary and Austria and you name it are kicking off. But a later party chairman, I think the key thing about it is the chairman, instead of being just a cabinet member that actually is propping up the Prime Minister a lot of the time, is responsible to you, the membership, and is telling the Prime Minister, no, this is not a good idea. No, the members don't like this. I mean, if you had elected party chairman, would you have got that deal in checkers? Question mark. No. Because the elected party chairman would be consulting all of you and saying, well, what do you think? You know, this kind of deal, what do you think? And if they got the kind of reaction which they're now getting, that, you know, it would have headed off the Prime Minister and what I believe is a terrible deal. So it's something that is they're most resistant about. You know, Brandon Lewis, you would understand because he's been appointed by chairman. But they are sympathetic to some extent, and it's something though I think we do need to keep pushing. And also, I don't think they should be an MP person. I think they should have the skills of an executive as elected party chairman, and they should be the key point as they represent the members. And appointed, the appointed chief executive, a professional person, not sort of party agent or apparatchik. I mean, I've never been a great fan of central office, to be honest. I think we need a lot more professionalism. I have to say there is a marketing person who's come in and training people who are very professional, and that's a really good change in central office culture, rather than sort of just moving people around between jobs, you know, just because you've named the 20 years or whatever it is. Fifthly, direct elections for deputy chairman, co-chairman, or vice chairman, whatever you're going to call them. I mean, it's incredible. I meet people and say, I'm a vice chairman of this, or deputy chairman, and you say, well, who's appointed you? And who's elected you? You know, where have you come from? I mean, you know, I know the chairman of candidates, previous chairman of candidates appointed by Cameron, is now a Baroness. I mean, there were 300 candidates short when we went into the election in confidence. And we had candidates being interviewed by Skype. You know, the whole system went into meltdown. And God knows, you know, and at the same point they were blocking people like me. Now, I'm not resentful because politics is a long game, but it is a very odd system where you have your favoured special advisors who are on favour to this, and they were all here, you know. And there was quite a reaction from associations against that, by the way, you know, where they were put forward. They went for anyone but, actually, and you can see that. But I think that's an important point. The sixth point is about candidate selection. I've touched on that. I mean, it's funny, Lord Tebbit had it right. I mean, he said really the function of central office is not to gerrymander or follow a politically correct agenda or whatever it is. It should be just about assessing that the candidates that come before you are not corrupt, bankrupt or dodgy. What do we call it, the sort of the sad, the bad and the mad, you know, you want to try and avoid that, and that should be their job. It shouldn't be about, oh, well, we've got too many white men, and we need far more sort of ethnic minorities or women, so that, you know, I want people on merit, you know, regardless of their background or religion or what colour. So that's on the candidate side. There's a lot more that can be said about candidates. You know, but at the end of the day, you know, that's what the public sees. That is the representative, the ambassadors of the party, of the candidates. And we are getting people, you know, who've behaving disgracefully. You know, MPs I know, some in my area, who are not conservative and are, the first speech, one of them, the first speech she made was to rebel against the government. That was the first speech, the maiden speech, was to object to a policy that she'd been elected on about a month before, 2 months before. And a lot of the rebels and the, you know, trying to undermine Brexit, you know, they were voted in on the manifesto very shortly before. I did remind a few of them about that, but, you know, it is a disgrace and there's a problem with the candidate selection. Very quickly then, number 7 is about, this is something I really believe in, actually, something I put forward, is that it's quite interesting, having come back from UKIP after sort of 7 or 8 years away, I went to the party conference and I thought, where the activists? You know, I thought I was at a sales conference. I've actually written speeches for sales conferences, including one in the Granada TV studios where they're all pretended to be MPs. It was quite funny, but I know sales conferences, and I was at a sales conference, and it was all scripted. Oh, you know, tell us about this wonderful new policy. Oh yes, thank you for asking. Da, 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 and you go, and I thought, well, and the cost of it has driven the activists away. Why did you used to go to Bournemouth or Blackpool? Arrogant.
Because you could discuss.
It was affordable. It was affordable.
Yes.
And you could that's the other thing. And that's a key point, because I believe the Spring Party conference, which is a kind of grudge conference, they don't like to, they have to do it under the Constitution, I believe, again. And it's the same with UKIP, by the way, they had to do it as well. But I mean, the Spring Party conference should be a policy conference where ministers listen to members, where they're not pontificating about what the government's going to do next, but actually listening to members, a kind of listening conference. And I tried, to push this, we've tried to push this with Brandon Lewis and Kate. And I think Brandon, to be fair, is going to come up with some interesting ideas at the party conference, he says. So we'll see what comes out of that. But I think some of this thinking, like the Young Conservatives, we wanted back, and they're doing that, so we're on the same wavelength. But, I think we should have a spring conference that is affordable, that activists can come along to and feel they're being listened to. And this is about, my background in marketing and advertising, it's about product offering, dare I say. And we touched on it earlier, what do you get for your 25 quid? What difference does it make? Well, if you can come to a conference and ministers sit there and listen to you, and if you're interested in transport, the transport minister's there, and you say, look, come on, get the railways right in this way, or whatever it is, you feel you're getting some value out of it. And that product offering is really important, because, what else do you get? In the old days, you could go to a conference and your MP would buy you dinner, and you bump into the Prime Minister if you're lucky. There was a lot of offering, where at the moment, there is no offering. And Brandon Lewis actually made the point that when he goes campaigning around the country, there's a lot of people who are helping to campaign who aren't even members. Because again, what's the point? Oh, well, we just come along to support our friends who are councillors or MPs. And we've got to turn that into membership. And by the way, they're going to claim, I think they're going to claim the 200,000 soon, which is probably adding in the Conservative clubs. We're only there for the beer. When I was in Warwick and Levington as a candidate, you would go to all these Conservative clubs and say, well, I'm the local Conservative candidate, expecting a sort of hero's welcome. And they said, do you mind, I don't discuss politics, I'm Labour, mate. We've got cheap beer. So, there's a route to power through cheap beer. Anyway, so finally, the other ones are professional services support, helping associations with their skills, supporting them. That's important to build up associations and make them more effective. And then working, democratising all UK party constitutions. And finally, it's about the dissemination and making of party rules, more autonomy for local associations, less dictation from the centre over rules and rule making. So those are 10 points we're sort of campaigning on, but it's very important work, and I really believe in democracy. I think that's what's driven the whole Brexit vote. It's democracy. 49% of people in the referendum voted leave because of sovereignty, 49% in half. And they understand that British people get it, but we need a lot more democracy in our own party. If we had it, we'd be more attuned to the membership and therefore more attuned to the country. And UKIP actually, my experience of UKIP, it's a lot more democratic actually, and Labour is to a certain extent. And it pays off because actually you are talking more the kind of language you need to talk. The danger of our parties, I think, is becoming more and more detached from the wider membership and wider people, and that is dangerous. That's how you get unelected, and we don't want that. So, those are our 10 points. That's what we stand for at CCD. Delighted to take questions and then get on to Brexit, which will probably take the rest of the day.